Hey there, Stephanie Joy with all things Social Security and the law practice of Joy Disability. Here's a short little segment from our recent live stream Q&A that we have every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the YouTube channel, All Things Social Security. Enjoy, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments, and I will be sure to get to them. Thanks so much. Bye-bye now. Hi, guys. Por favor, let me know if you can hear me. Should be fine, but I'd like to make sure. Gregory Olson's in the house. Hi, Gregory. Will SSDI attorneys take on a case where I will probably get approved for the compassionate allowance to the SSA Blue Book? 1117, is that a compassionate allowance or is that a listing? Would they take on a compassionate allowance? Of course. However, if you think you meet a compassionate allowance versus a listing, Gregory, you probably won't need an attorney. So why do that? If you're mistaken, so I would do your research first. You don't really want to waste one bite at the apple without the attorney if you can help it. Read up on it. Take the definition, everything they have about that particular compassionate allowance from the CAL list, and find the criteria and maybe discuss it with your doctor. Just say, are all these criteria met? Can you show me where? Can we pull out the medicals? And you're kind of hand feeding it to the SSA. Not a bad idea, but you might not need an attorney is my point, and why pay the fee? There might not be a fee if it's SSD, if you win in the first 5 months, but if there's going to be back benefits, there's going to be a fee, or they could do a fee petition, that kind of thing. There was a time when I was doing applications for certain compassionate allowance, just like pro bono. It was ALS. I had an old friend who died of ALS when we were in our 40s, and she had been a police officer, and such an insidious disease. But I decided after that, ALS, I will file the applications for them, get all the information and stuff, and I didn't represent them because I didn't think they needed it. But, doing the legwork, I guess. So, their families are busy and probably everyone's already grieving. Elliot, I don't know if you're still here, but I would think even that diagnosis would be in need of some sort of counseling, perhaps, for many people anyway. Hi, Christina. Hello from California. I appreciate you, Christina. Delia says, still are here, although typing publicly might be a little extreme. Yes, we don't do it in our typing, right? And you can always get a good reviewer to make sure, proofread, do a little search. I don't think typing is the same. Dictation typing, though, if someone's not paying attention, could be bad. Hello from Georgia. Thank you, Brittany. Lori says PCPs order testing for MRIs. I love MRIs. Everyone who has any musculoskeletal issues should probably be getting, in my opinion, updated MRIs no less than every 2 years. Personally, I like to see them every 1 year. It shows changes. It confirms lack of improvement, but oftentimes things degenerate. So those new MRIs can make your case stronger. So that's one of the things I nag my people about. Yeah. Scott Jones is in the house. Hi, Scott. I don't think we've met, have we? Having kidney disease and being on dialysis, does that qualify for any more benefits? Sometimes. Dialysis certainly takes it to a new level, particularly if it's very frequent. It's not going to be more benefits, though. I'm sorry. I didn't read your full thing thoroughly. It can be a qualifier for disability, but no, you don't get kudos for it. Because, and here's the deal, Scott, it's insurance. You bought X amount of benefits with the premiums you paid. There's no welfare component to toss on top of that for you. There's welfare out there, but that's not it. That's the insurance you bought and paid for. It's earned. It's all yours. There's no welfare flop on. Jen Me says, if one can't be present consistently at a job in the first place, what is your doc supposed to answer to the how many hours can he do a day? 0? Well, why isn't the question something different? Instead, ask the doctor, would you expect I'm trying to think of how the questions that we see, like, how many days a month would you expect this person to be not being able to attend work? Absences from work. And you're going to give him a 0. So he could say she wouldn't miss any work. 1, 2, 3, 4 plus. And that's his opinion. If his medical records don't say much about your symptoms that would suggest that, then that's going to be an they're not going to be well supported, and they probably won't take them to heart. That is the kind of question. I wouldn't say how many hours in a day unless that's something more clear. But there's always the absenteeism that's an issue. It's not really in the DOT type of thing or in a set rule, but the vocational experts will all say that beyond X amount of days, and they vary a little bit on the X's, beyond X amount of days missed work per month, if one can expect that person to miss, depending on the vocational expert, that person would not be able to perform that job satisfactorily to the customary tolerances of employers generally, and then you would be disabled if the judge believes that you, in fact, would not be able to attend that much work. So we'd be considering that, your treating doctor's statement, any of the medical records. I mean, hopefully mental health professionals talk about, she has many, many dysfunctional days where she, cannot leave bed for days in a row, won't shower, this, that, and the other thing, whatever's going on. Those things would be consistent or supportive of a later opinion that I would expect her to be at, not be able to attend to work 4+ days a month, not be able to, versus won't feel like it. Because how many times do we, I mean, I have young adults in the house and in my neighborhood that I know, and, you know, it's a different generation than when I grew up. So they all tend to feel like, well, if I don't feel like going to work today, I should be able to call out, and they shouldn't be able to can me. I'm like, first thing, can you? Did your job description say you can call out whenever you want? Like, you're hired for this. This is when you, but they seem to think, but if I don't feel well, it depends how unwell you feel. And then I also explain, and by the way, do you have any idea if you have sick days? Like, is there an agreement where you get a certain amount of sick days? Are you exceeding that amount? Are you thinking they have to just keep you on even though you're not showing up when you promised? It's amazing. It's almost like an entitlement situation that society has put on them, that they just feel like, you know, it's a beautiful day and I want to go fishing or hang out with my girlfriend or whatever. And then just, that's like a luxury of the job. And I think jobs have become more tolerant of it because there's so many poor employee morale people out there now. You know, healthy, able-bodied people, not disabled people, like our community here. And I don't know if you guys have seen it. I think it's very, very sad. It's very sad. It's like a work ethic thing. God, I can remember all the days I used to go to work when I worked for somebody else. And, 2 years after college, before I went to law school, this is a funny story. I commuted all the way to Newark, New Jersey from northwestern New Jersey. So I had a long commute, worked all day. It was a 40-hour week, though. It wasn't like I do now. Now it's like, 80. But it's a difference between loving it and hating it, right? And Sundays, I didn't even enjoy Sundays. And I had weekends off. It was a 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, like your typical corporate job. And my whole demeanor probably changed on Sundays. I was tearing it up Fridays, tearing it up Friday nights, Saturdays with my friends. And then Saturday, I started getting a little anxious. I really didn't like my job. It was very boring to me. So, Saturday I would just be like, party harder because, ignore the fact that, tomorrow's the last day of the weekend. And then Sunday I would just be like, work on Monday. I didn't like my job. And I wasn't looking for like a fun job. I just wanted something that I could be interested in and like, right? Not their fault. It was just, and my father, and I've never had depression in my life. I mean, I've had sad periods, like everybody else. And he actually brought me, so here I am, I'm like 21 years old, working for 2 years. Well, no, started at 21. So I was like 23 or 22, maybe in the middle. And he brought me a brochure about depression. And he goes, because he seems so sad when I see you on Sunday. I'm like, Dad, it's just because I can't stand my job and I got to go to it and I got to do something. That's when I ended up resigning and going to law school. But how funny is that? I mean, it is funny in a way, isn't it? I thought I was depressed. I mean, I suppose a miserable job for too long will make you depressed, though. JC says, all the way ALJ who claimed that medical evidence between 18 and 22 doesn't show severity. On SSI nonstop. I can't believe you went to an ALJ and he did this. Oh my gosh, that might be res judicata now. I think that's atrocious and an injustice. I'm still going to try to find out the answer. I don't know if it's too late for you, JC, but it is appalling. If I do find the answer, sometimes you can file again within a certain amount of years, and under certain circumstances, they will overturn an ALJ. It's very rare. But let's say he didn't consider that law. Thing is, was it a law? Because I've heard about this for years, and I was just hoping that new thing they did maybe remedy that. And again, I don't know. Jenny says, by the way, guys, it's 2:30. We're an hour and a half in. What do you find to be the most difficult jobs to eliminate when talking about what jobs are left in the economy by the VE? Well, when you're a young person, as you might be, it's the simple, skilled, basic third grade jobs because they take the least mental acuity, focus, concentration, and all that. The beauty of proving, as unofficial as it may be at times, the absenteeism problem is that it eliminates all jobs, regardless of anything else. Sorry, I'm cleaning up poop, baby. Nobody can see you. You guys see her? I should have done this before. Sorry. Oh, stuff. Okay. My eyes are not that good. So think about simple, unskilled, sedentary. Add this to it, Jen. There are jobs that don't require interaction with the public. There's a lot of mental health cases. That's a big issue. And don't require, I believe, any interaction with coworkers. But no jobs under the VE stuff exist where you don't have to at least occasionally interact with a supervisor. So proof about being unable to reliably interact with a supervisor when a supervisor might want to because it might be one of your off moments, despite the fact that you're trying for 8 hours to do it, they don't like to look at that. They do not like to look at that. We fight that a lot with some of our
more seriously mentally ill clients under 50. But that is what I would be pushing for and trying to get evidence of that from in your medical records. He says, judge wanted to approve, but without medical evidence from age 18 to 22, couldn't do so. Maybe he was incorrect. Agreed that currently no jobs available with my conditions, plenty of adult records available, but none for 22. Yeah, and that is a very frequent problem. Parents don't keep them. Hopefully they're learning now that there's so much more information because of the internet. I mean, it's got a lot of sins, but it's got a lot of positives if you grab the positives, and that's the ability to look things up, do research, all that kind of stuff. When approved 30 years ago, it was by listing meeting a listing. Old providers from childhood retired in hospitals no longer have those paper records, and you didn't keep yours. I understand. Tried to do federal appeals, but didn't find attorney. So you did appeals counsel, and they didn't. I'm wondering if that law, was this a while ago or very recently? They say, Brittany. I was disabled before 22 years old, and now I am having more medical issues related to some of my disabilities and related to the side effects of my prescribed anxiety medications that eventually lead me to seeing a GI doctor who needs me to do something else. Endoscopy. Okay. Endoscopy. Am I saying that wrong? I've got a double. Both ends, guys. May 11th. Yep. Both ends simultaneously. Thank God I'll be knocked out like a drunken sailor. And no offense to sailors. I love sailors. My husband's Navy. Well, and that's not abnormal. Brittany, probably a lot of people are going to attest to the fact that as we age, different body parts, disabled or not disabled, our bodies age and things deteriorate, right? I have GI issues now that I never had, in my ripe old age. So it stands to reason that someone who's disabled is not going to escape the ramifications of time on their other body parts or, organs, all that. Not fun. Don't like it, but it is the life in this fallen world we live in, right? King Robinson. Hi, King. I don't think we've met. I normally receive my SSI before the first. This month, it has not yet arrived. You mean for May? You expected it 2 days before May? Anyone else with this issue? Let's see. May 1st is Friday. Well, when you say normally, do you mean frequently, often, regularly, but not always? Because if the first is going to fall on a weekend or a holiday, they're going to pay you before it because they do not want you to have to wait until after it. It is they realize that SSI people cannot be saving big amounts of money to buffer and get that rent paid on time. So they pay you before the first to make sure you have money for the first for your rents because most SSI people are probably paying rent. Does that make sense? So I would be worried at this juncture anyway. It's only the 29th. It's not even the day before. So I would expect you to receive it Friday, actually. Because Friday is not a holiday, right? And it's a weekday. So they should be paying it to you on the 1st. Of course, it would be nice if it was the last day of the month anyway, so that you can comfortably have it in your hand. Although I think when they pay it, does it come out? Let me know. Does it normally come out at like 12:01 a.m.? Or is it like midday? Because what if you wanted to pay your rent at 10 in the morning and you've got to wait till 3 until it pops in there? I'm curious. That's just a little detail that just popped in my head that I'd be curious about. Thanks again, guys. Have a great week and be safe. Bye.